but I've been teaching here for 15 years. And I came to Woodbury. I'm an architect, and I have a kind of a hybrid career. I have a master's degree from the Cranbrook Academy of Art. My background, my education is very much about architecture and in the context of the many disciplines of art. And I came here from Ohio, where I taught for 6 years at Kent State. But before that, I was in Michigan getting my master's degree. And before that, I was in New York City, living and getting my undergraduate degree. Before that, I was in New Jersey, growing up and going to high school and deciding what I wanted to do. But I really do very much enjoy the field of architecture and teaching architecture, because it's so much about everything. It encompasses so many areas, so many fields. It's so diverse, and it's so synthetic. It uses a lot of different kinds of skills.
Hi, I'm Lacey. I'm a third-year animation student here at Woodbury, and I'm also involved in the Residence Hall Association here on campus. Should I talk about why I came to Woodbury?
Yeah. your bio in 30 seconds or less.
Okay. I'm a transfer student. I actually came from College of the Canyons up in Santa Clarita, and I chose Woodbury because I came and I had talked to the chair of my department about coming here, and I really think this school was a great fit for me, and so far I've been right. So, and I'll pass it on to Kaylee.
Hi, my name is Kaylee Huey, and I'm a fourth-year graphic design major. I'll be graduating in the spring. And I'm actually from the Sierra Nevada foothills in Northern California. And I chose to come to Woodbury because it's one of the only schools in California that has graphic design as a major and offers a BFA within that major. And I'm also an academic peer mentor this year at Woodbury.
Hello? Okay. Hello, my name's Juan. I'm a third-year filmmaking student. I came here straight out of high school. I went to Arleta High School. It's about 15, 20 minutes away from here. My junior and senior year, I took photography classes, and I started getting heavily involved with my theater department at school. So I did a lot of acting and set construction, and that's kind of what got me interested in the whole media perspective of it. So I heard Woodbury was having a brand new filmmaking program launching the same year that I was graduating from high school. So I came and talked to the chair, and I actually signed up for animation, and I ended up stabbing them in the back and switching over to film. But I've been enjoying every moment of it. My voice is very heard since I was kind of like one of the first people to actually step foot into the program. So I'm very pleased. We have a new film building that went up last year. Constant new equipment coming in, and just great feedback from what I've been hearing from parents. I'm also a SOAR peer advisor, so I advise incoming freshmen during summer, and I'm also an academic peer mentor, so if students need any mentoring or help during their semester here, I'm there to guide them along.
Hello, my name is Brian Diaz, and I'm a fifth-year architecture student. I went to Cerritos College for a year, and then I transferred over here. Before that, I went to high school and graduated from there. And just the journey here has been really rewarding and fun. Definitely challenging, but not without its benefits. So I'm also an academic peer mentor, so if students need help, especially in the field of architecture, they can sign up, and we offer them some advice on how to kind of balance their schedule and make sure that they don't get too overwhelmed with all of the work that we have to do. But other than that, I've been part of the student leaders over the years, a resident advisor as well before this. So it's just been a great experience here, and I look forward to answering any of your questions.
Hi, my name is William Novak. I'm chair of the Game Art and Design Department. I came to Woodbury about 2 years ago to put together this new Bachelor of Fine Arts degree. We've been running 2 semesters. We started this time last year, so we're a brand new program. Before I came to Woodbury, I've been making video games for 29 years.
What's wrong with me?
So I know we don't have every design major. Largely universal. All right, we can do that. Why don't we start out by just talking a little bit now? Let's talk about what is it like to be a design. Projects like, what are you?
Rena, how to answer that?
Have any control of this? Yeah, I was saying that. Right, it's actually 24 hours. Okay.
Yeah.
And
So I mean,
But
so what's his
major?
Who would like
I
to
think we have
start?
an answer here.
yeah,
okay.
what's his major? What's his major?
You
No. His major.
were going to be
His
No,
program.
his major.
Yeah.
architect.
Architecture.
Okay.
Okay. So when I came for SOAR, which is when students kind of come in and they spend a night here and they kind of get the feel of the school and the next day register for their classes. Yeah. One thing that was constantly, that I heard was that architecture students you never saw them after SOAR. I didn't believe it, but up until last semester, I actually started hanging out with a bunch of architecture students. And yeah, they might go in, say 9 in the morning to work on a project. They don't come out till probably 9 in the morning 2 days later because they're working on projects. It's very super intense work, especially for architecture students because they go through so many different how can I say, like different procedures, I guess. They go from exactly. They go from a thought or a process that they propose, and a professor thinks, okay, you know what, sure, let's go with that, and they build up on it. So it's not like a 5-minute thing where you just do it, you type it up, and you're done. It's kind of like you propose it, you plan it out, you go off and you build it on your computer, and then you go off and you actually build it, followed by pinning up and by presenting. And sometimes you have that alongside 3 10-page papers that you have due the next day. So as soon as you're finished with that project, you might also have those essays that you work on in studio, just because you're already in the work mode of it. I'll pass it on to Brian because he's actually an arch major. Probably be able to further explain that.
Yeah, what he said was very true. Just to go over kind of like the design process or kind of the start from a project, what we do is we usually start out researching. So we'll find, depending on the project, the professors give us, say each semester we have about 3 projects that we need to do, and then they divide each project into different stages. So one stage might be a design research, one stage might be like a quick charrette, like a design model making, and then you build off of each step. So I'll give an example. In second year, what we had to do is we had to, our final project was a fashion, school of fashion in downtown LA. And so the first project we had a little pavilion. So we had in the very beginning, pick a designer and research the dress and kind of how the dress comes together. So we were looking into fashion, and we chose a specific dress, and then we had to analyze that dress. Like, how did it come together? Did they use a pleating technique? Did they use something else? And then we had to kind of understand the process of making a dress, and then from there, you learn architectural moves. So you take that pleating design, and then how does that become architectural? How can you get inspiration from different fields and apply that to architecture? So then we had a small fashion pavilion. And then after that, we had a kind of research phase into architectural precedents. So we looked into different, since it was a fashion institute, we looked into different institutes that have been constructed by famous architects and kind of broke down their design process of how they came to finalize their design. Like, did they use different methodologies? What a methodology is like a technique. So is it shifting? Are these volume shifting? Is it striding? Are there layers? And then from there, we combine the technique of pleating with the precedent and come up with our own design. So it's this kind of step-by-step process, and we learn throughout the whole process and stage. So in the design, there's never a finished design. You can always improve, you can always change, you can always adapt, and that's part of the difference between a design major and then versus a traditional major where you're going to class, you're reading, you're taking tests. Design can always be improved, enhanced, changed. So that's part of the reason why it's so time intensive, is because you're trying new things, you're experimenting, you're exploring. So.
That was well put, but yeah, design is about repeating the work in a different way, so it's never finished. And typically, what happens is, he's in first year, your son. If the project is due Tuesday at 1:00, Monday night, students are in the studio working pretty late, and because it's never finished, we have a sense that, well, the deadline means that I can always improve it, so I have to just work as long as I can. Through the night until the time comes, and then it's due. And that's part of the culture of our discipline, I have to say, or I have to warn you. It doesn't stop when they get out of school. I mean, I have deadlines in my work, my practice, and we do the same kind of thing. We work late. We have this term in architecture, we call it charretting, which is, the term comes from the Beaux-Arts school in Paris from the early 20th century. And the term charretting means to work around the clock on a project until it's due. And it comes from the cart that they used. They used to wheel the cart through the school, and students would be required to throw their drawings on the cart, and that was the deadline. The deadline was putting your drawings on this thing. So yeah, it's real, but it's a great way. We refer to that concept as studio culture. Students are working there. It's fun. It's interesting. The students who do choose to work in the studio, the work tends to be better, stronger than those who work at home.
He likes it though. He likes
Well,
it.
yeah,
Likes it.
that's good.
Except when I am concerned with the fact
Right.
that's what I'm worried about.
I'm
Well,
going to actually ask if you could comment on the need, how you balance this perfectionist tendency that you all have to keep working math homework or other classes, and strategies you found that might. Smiling, Kaylee. Why don't you start?
Situation where
So this is my fourth year. I've experienced a lot of all-nighters and staying up late and not sleeping. And at one point, yes, when the first time I had to do all-nighters, I went into that mode of just getting my work done, and I always stick with the quote, whatever you put into it is what you'll get out of it. And that's what I kind of explain to my mentees, because I'm also an academic career mentor, is just reducing your stress levels as much as possible. as well as keeping on top of your work and making schedules, making plans, writing down on calendars exactly what you need to do when, so that you have a checklist that you can check off as you go. And for me, every time I check something off that checklist, it's just kind of adrenaline to keep going. It motivates me to move on to the next checkpoint, the next project. When you get to sleep and when you get to actually have downtime, it's a never-ending job.
Yeah, for architecture, definitely the pace. It does become more intense because you're learning. In first year, you start off, they really work with you and how you experience a space, if that makes any sense. And then you get more towards the architectural aspect of actually building and designing things. So the pace definitely picks up because we're learning more strategies, more techniques of how to better our work. In first year, my first semester, we didn't do hardly any computer work. It was mostly hand drawings and physically building, but then you learn programs in the computer such as AutoCAD. It's a drafting program. You learn Rhino. It's a 3D modeling program. And just the time it takes to learn those programs and then to create what you have in your... It's really interesting. What I like about architecture is you have an idea, you have a sketch, and to see that sketch transform throughout the process, that sketch becomes these maybe quick physical models, and then you build it in the computer, and then you tweak it and you finalize it, and then at the end you get to see what came out of that first idea, first thought. But it definitely, as you mentioned before, staying up late, making sure you have to eat. One thing that I always say is that my health is more important than the deadline. So if I'm getting sick, if I feel myself start to have like a cold or a cough, I'm like, I need to sleep. So I'll make sure that I have my work done to a finished enough point to present, but I also need to take care of myself because my personal health is way more important than the finalized project. So I work as hard as I can, and then if I need to sleep, I sleep. If I need to eat, I'll take a quick break and eat. You definitely learn how to, when you're out and when you're getting lunch, you pick up a snack, like maybe you get an apple from Woody's and you keep that because you'll be working and then you'll be like, oh, I'm hungry, and you'll have the apple right there. So you kind of learn how to make sure you have snacks on hand just to keep yourself fed. And then late at night when we're there for all-nighters, we definitely go for midnight snacks or food runs at 2 a.m. So it's really nice studio culture. I enjoy it too, like your son does. We become like a family since we're working there. We're all struggling through the same thing. It's kind of reassuring and comforting knowing that other people are working hard, other people are struggling, and it really encourages you to keep plugging away and to know that you have fellow classmates going through the same thing as you. So it's really a neat experience.
I'm waiting. Certainly, not because it's
You are
I'm actually very happy you asked that. Thank you. Oh, that's a question I actually asked my advisor, which was the filmmaking chair. I actually went in asking, I need more financial aid. What do I do? And he told me, you know what? There's financial aid, there's scholarships for almost anything, and because you're Hispanic and you're going in for film, there's scholarships for that. And that kind of got me thinking how my ethnicity kind of plays a role into Hollywood, or just the entertainment industry in general. And my original goal coming into Woodbury as a film student was to become a director. Because during high school, I kind of learned how to become a PA, so working in a stage crew, taking orders. I learned discipline. I eventually became kind of like the captain or the leader of the stage crew, and then moving on to teaching incoming students about sound and how to rig sets. So my very last production, I became the lead role, and I kind of became an assistant director at the same time. And at that point, I was like, I want to do directing. But as I came here to Woodbury and I started taking multiple different classes, I realized that, you know what, I might not want to do directing anymore. I'm really good at sound design. I play music. I'm instrumentally kind of attracted to music. So when it comes to sound design, I take that very seriously. It's because of my background working on sets, I can also do grip work or lighting work. So then that also got me interested in cinematography and moods and lighting and stuff like that. And then something that I've recently kind of been attracted to was YouTube, Vimeo, and recently Vine. Vine is the biggest thing where people are telling stories within a 6-second time limit. And that's astonishing when you have things like Titanic that go on for hours and hours and hours, where something that's that entertaining can also be entertaining and portrayed within 6 seconds. So kind of to answer your questions about how I envision myself, my ultimate goal is to end up working for Warner Brothers. And becoming a student leader here at Woodbury University has kind of changed my own personal goals of wanting to become, famous or well known, and kind of interpreting it into helping other students, because that's what all of us do here. We kind of help the incoming students or any students that just need help. So what I want to do, what I envision for myself is if I do become a director, maybe focus on a film that specifically promotes student leaders in schools. So that way we don't have certain students, like you said, that might not have the endurance for a major and might just change or drop out or, just completely go for something else, something traditional. Maybe promote that if it is hard, there are people there that can back you up for it. So I kind of see what my future job or career being like a tool or something brand new that hasn't been quite touched on. I mean, you do have like those metaphorical films like Will Smith in Pursuit of Happiness, where it was kind of like, you stick to it and you work through it and you'll eventually get it. So I kind of want to do something like that, where I want to kind of put a seed in every student where it's not like, just because you kind of fail at it doesn't mean you can't succeed. Because in order to succeed, you have to fail to know what to fix in the future.
And so, you know,
Thank you.
I just want to touch upon that. I was actually part of a panel for last week with a group of about 50 high school counselors who are going to go back and talk to their students about schools. And one of the things that we really wanted to really tell them about our school is that within the media, culture, and design, as well as the architecture department, we really focus on working with other students from other majors to get a feel not just for our own major, but I've learned about fashion, I've learned about architecture. I work with psychology students right now on my thesis project because it's on sleep and how it relates to human behavior and also dreams. And so I've been working with those students to understand more from a psychology aspect of what it is and how I can incorporate it within my work. And that's something that the school really wants us to do, is have a very eclectic knowledge of different majors, not just our own, so that when we enter the world, we have a broad understanding of a lot of things and not just one specific major.
Okay, so like, for me at least, my mom gets really concerned when I'm out of my room very late at night. Incredibly concerned, and I completely understand. But there are other people, like, you can take comfort in knowing that when they're in studio, there are usually other people in studio with them. They're not alone. And just like, you know, just be understanding. So like if they're tired, you know, they've obviously been working really hard. Like, you know, all of us up here have pulled some really late nights working on projects because we're all really incredibly dedicated to what we're doing. And, you know, the reason like your kids will be staying up late is because they want to do a good job. So just keep encouraging that. Like they're doing this because once they get out of here, they want to get work. You know, and it's really helpful to just know that like your parents support you.
For me, my parents live about 6.5, 7 hours away by drive. And so my freshman year, my parents were very, very worried about me because at the beginning of the year, I always called them every night. We always talked. And then later on the semester, they got less and less calls. And they got texted about 2 a.m. I was just saying, I'm going to bed. See you. I'll talk to you tomorrow. And they became very concerned. And so what happened was they actually came to a similar program at the end of the year, and they could see my work. And I took them to my studios, and they spent a few days down here. So I actually had them spend a night with me in studio so they could see what I was doing. And then they started understanding because they also saw my work at the end of the year in a graphic design show that we had on campus. And I received a few awards for my work my freshman year. And they said, oh, now we understand. It's because you put so much work into it that your work was chosen. And so they started understanding after that. And with my parents, they were just very understanding. They told me to always just follow my dreams and do what I love, and that passion will drive me, and it has. And so for the past few years, again, if they don't receive a phone call every now and then, my mom will text me constantly. They send care packages, but just it's basically the small words of encouragement. I get a letter every now and then. It's just that small bit of encouragement that I know helps both of us. I send them letters just to let them know I'm thinking of them when I have a free minute. So it's just, again, like Lacey was saying, just keep that encouragement up. Just tell them, well, we know that you're working hard. We're very proud of you. That's what motivates me the most, is just hearing from my parents that they're proud.
I actually encourage parents to stay one night with your students in your studio. Just try to stay one night awake. Exactly. And then the next day be like, okay, you know what? Just go back to studio and you guys can go back to bed. Because it's tiring. My mom tried to do that once because she thought I was just messing around. My first semester here, I had a foundation class because of all the other work that I had to do along the week, I would stay up Thursday, all Thursday. So as soon as I woke up, all of my thinking was just solely on that one class and how I'm going to present my project for the following day. So I would get home after class, maybe like at 5, and I'd work from 5 till 7 a.m. of the next day, and then shower, put on my clothes, and then tell my dad, hey, Dad, take me to school. So he'd take me to school, and I'd fall asleep for like the 20-minute ride. And then as soon as I got here, it was straight to pinning up and then presenting. And my mom didn't believe me. She's like, oh, you spent so much time going out with your friends. It's like, no, Mom, I'm working on my stuff. So, you know what? Stay up with me one night. No. It was like 2 in the morning. She was out. And then the next day, she saw the work that I did, and she was like, oh, okay, you know what? I'll stop picking on you now. So I highly encourage you guys, if you don't believe your kids, try to spend a night with them in studio, or ask them to explain their work to you, because you guys will realize that it's a lot, and it's hard, going through a whole day or a whole week's worth of work and then spending 2-3 days, maybe all-nighters, and then presenting your work right after. So
My family has been incredibly encouraging throughout my years. They just, one way is by asking what I'm doing. Just a simple question, oh, hey, what are you working on? And then you get to tell them. It shows that you're interested and you care about their work and what they're working on. And my mother attended one of these events as well. And then afterwards she came into studio and I was working on a model. And so she was like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, do you want to help? And so I pulled up a stool and I had her sanding these basswood sticks for me and getting the barcode off of them. And so we were just sitting there like talking, and she actually got to see and experience kind of a little bit of what I do, what I'm working on, a little bit of how much time it takes just to do little things. So just asking your students what they're working on, showing that you're interested, that you care about them. I go home usually on the weekends, and that's a huge relief. I live here on campus during the week, and then go home on the weekends, and it's just a great time to kind of get a change of scenery, breathe a little, and just relax. And one thing that my parents do is they'll make some meals in advance for me. And then I'll bring 3 or 4 meals home with me, and then throughout the week I can heat them up, especially during the late nights when Woody's is closed. So just little things like that, showing that you care, showing that you're interested, really help and encourage us here.
So next year.
We'll screen in our work and show you.
How's it? 24 hours a day, 7 days on campus. Check-in stations, including many. I've never been in a studio with.
Yeah.
But it's there all the time.
Pretty much. I mean, there's, especially on deadline nights, the deadlines are consistent. And so that group of first year students is going to be there together. And yeah, I mean, not everybody works in studio, but enough to make it feel comfortable.
As far as crime is concerned, laptop and then goes to the camera.
their property.
Yeah.
And everyone feels so comfortable.
And can I say something? I was just thinking about this concept that we talk about in architecture. We have this thing that we call it the Woodbury miracle, and it means that I would say this is a unique university in that we work really hard to reach all the students. There's a lot of one-on-one interaction that occurs between faculty and students. We have pretty small class sizes, and we have a lot of opportunities where faculty and students mingle with, events, lectures, exhibitions, things like that. And I think that the reason that we're successful in part is because the work is fun. It's contagious. Students are passionate about what they do, and that passion is what you're seeing. They want to stay there late and finish their work and do really well. And I think it's we sometimes students maybe weren't as successful in high school. Maybe they were bored. Maybe certain teachers didn't reach them, or they didn't find what they were interested in, and they come here, they find their passion, and it's amazing. There are transformations that occur. We take students that came from that did not have a lot of skills in certain areas, and they become incredibly talented. They go on to some of the most amazing graduate schools across the country: Harvard, Yale, Columbia. The best schools. They work in the best offices, both in this country and abroad. It's pretty interesting to see, not just, it's easy to work with the good students, the people who come in and who are already, the top performers. But what we're really proud of in architecture is that we work with all kinds of students, and we see amazing results.
Could you speak a little bit about what the experience?
I have some pin-ups up here.
I can try doing like a brief overview, but throughout projects, what happens is about maybe 1/3 or halfway through the project deadline, before the deadline, we have our first pin-up, which means we take our work, we print it out, or if it's 3D work, then we put it on display, and our professor comes in and they will actually critique what the work is, how it's going, and they'll push us in a certain direction. If we have ideas of what we want to do, then they'll say, I like your ideas, go in this direction. And then they'll push us to work in that direction on our project. And then we have a pin-up at the end, our actual critique, where we pin up our work, and it's during our final critique. And sometimes we'll actually have professionals or at least in my major, we have professionals from the industry come in, and they'll actually critique the work as well from an industry standard. And overall, that's when our grade is determined for the project. And we present to the entire class, and we kind of just give a brief overview of what we did on the project, what our idea was, and why we took certain direction with our work. I'm not sure how it is for you guys want
The same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, for the most part, it's the same like an animation, but then at the same time, what animation expects you to do is to go back, even though this might be your final grade, you have to go back still and make those adjustments to your work if like you really want it to be improved. So they're just trying to help us grow as students, and like so that we can be successful later on. But I mean, it can be really tough when you've spent like, who knows how long working on something, and you turn it in and they're like, oh no, it's wrong. Like, yeah. So, I mean, it can be tough, but it's helpful in the end,
Is there an access?
Yeah. And does she?
For students that a lot of one-on-one interaction.
On the matter of the pinup, just to expand on that a little bit, we use the terms pinup, review, critique, what else? Desk crits. Desk crits tend to be one-on-one. But the more public, there's a lot of public interaction, meaning that the group of students with their faculty will discuss their work. So they pin it up on the wall, literally, and the group gets to talk about it and discuss it and talk about what could be improved and, all of that, what the meaning is behind the work and how to kind of go at it a little better. We also bring, like you do, I think this probably happens across the board, we bring in a lot of people from the profession, architecture, friends of ours, colleagues of ours who are working architects, and they come in and they give their 2 cents on the work as well, which is, it's twofold. It helps the students to see how they can improve. They also serve as role models for our students. They get to see people who are really working on this stuff, and they make contacts. They make connections for jobs and for internships.
And what's that experience like? And your work?
Well, is it? Okay, it's on. Well, it can be very stressful. When the first time we had a professional from the industry come in and critique our work, it was very stressful because they critiqued us as they would if it was an actual one of their employees. So we were actually being critiqued as professional designers from their standpoint. And for us, that was a little nerve-wracking because here we are just as students, and we're putting our work in front of an actual professional, and they're grading us. And it's very personal because it's your work. You're very passionate about that. And so you're automatically going to go on that kind of defensive mode and say, well, my work is wonderful. What are they talking about? And so just kind of getting that feedback, it's really great experience because you get that feedback and you get to improve your work. And at the same time, you kind of get to learn you can't always go on the defensive. They're just trying to help. And so it can be nerve-wracking, but it's also a very good experience. I don't know if you guys feel the same way.
Yeah, what Kaylee said hit the nail on the head. She said that you become defensive because you've worked so hard, you've spent long hours, you've been up all night, and then you present in front of this panel, and if they don't agree with you or if they don't like it, you do become defensive, but you have to remember that they're there to help you improve yourself. So you have to, it's hard to switch into that mindset from taking yourself out of the defensive mode and say, okay, they don't agree with it. I chose to take this route, but there's also other options that I could have taken, and there's also different ways I could have gone, and kind of have that in the back of your head to just take what they say and just learn from it and grow. It's definitely stressful as well because you pin up and you'll have your sections, these drawings, and you'll have models, and then there's different types of pinups. You could have your studio professor and another professor critique you, and then you could have a panel, which is about seven or less people that you present in front of. So they vary, the different pinup styles or final critiques, but yeah.
You told me that
Yes, I'm afraid that's true. But look, I've seen so many people that I never thought would pass the test. It's not that hard. You after studying for and getting your Bachelor of Architecture degree, you work X number of hours as an intern. Roughly that's equivalent to about 2 years. And then you take this test that has 7 parts to it. But you can take the test as you have time to take it. And and you can study for it. So if there's parts that you need to brush up on, you study and
take test.
No, you take it once you graduate.
Once you graduate.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And there's actually
No.
but we can meet with her.
We also have sessions that the students come to where we present how to do that.
First time I've heard of that.
Well, it's sort of like one big test. It's just in 7 parts.
Yes,
And each of them have a different topic.
I see. This is the end of our time together, so thank you so much.
If anybody would like to see the studio facilities, I see. Brian, would you be willing to? If any.
Like my semester.
That's kind of all of our plan.
Yeah.
In here. Second year?
Second year, second semester.
Okay. Okay.
That's the key. That's what we stress on with our mentees.
It's not a whole lot of that going on over here.
First time, look at.
Thank you guys very, very much.
Comes up with